So just a recap of what we've already set up. We've set up a fully replicated prone system with our character here is prone, and it's all inside the post search databases, but the animations like this are all a bit scuffed. And they don't really do what we want. Some of them are alright, and some of them not so great. So we're going to adjust them and fiddle with them and set up a whole new post search schema. So first things first, we're going to find our post search schema. So I've got this PSS default one. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call this PSS prone. And we're going to go through this probably a bit slower than I would usually go through things. So first off, data preprocessor is fine with common schema. Sample rate, well, we don't need to sample that many things because we're not moving very quickly. I'm going to change this to 15 to reduce the computational draws that we have. Trajectory channel is good and fine for this. The only thing is I don't want it to be so far away because I'm not moving a massive amount. So if I go to my loops, we go to here, we can see these black dots are actually my samples here. So I've got 61 samples, but they're all sort of a meter long. So they're not hugely long. So let's see if I can grab this up. If I select a loop, this is how far away my trajectory channel goes, but I don't need it to go that far because I'm not moving that far. So if we limit this PSS prone to so this one starts at 0, this one's at 0.35. I'm going to limit this to 0.1, and then the next one I'm going to change to 0.3, and the one after that I'm going to change to 0.7. Right, 0.7 might be too much, so we'll go 0.5. So back in our loops, I'm going to change this to our prone schema, so our new one. I'll click save, and I'm going to play again. So I'm going to go into the post schema, and he's a very happy boy on the ground. We'll fix that in a minute. And we go forward fine. We've started to move left pretty good, and right is also pretty good. Forward right isn't great, and forward left isn't great. Backwards was fine, but that was never broken. Backwards left is a bit jittery, and so is backwards right. But for the most part, left and right, they work not awfully, but not great either. Might need to tweak our speed. So change those. But we'll try something else before that. So if I go back into PSS Prone, so now you can see how changing the offsets has changed how much of a whereabouts in the animation it looks for. So if I go and change this back, you'll probably see better. Just to recap, don't want this PSD, don't want that loops. So if I change this back to default and go back in, and then we'll go to our right. It's not actually moving that much, and the left is way worse. So our left animation is awful. Right is alright, but it's not as good as it was. So I change this back to prone, then you can see quite a stark difference. This is our right way, and this is our left. There we go. That's quite a large difference in terms of animation and it working. So we're going to next change, we're going to leave our trajectory channel alone. I'm quite happy with our trajectory channel. And I'm going to come to this group channel. And I want to actually change this group channel to a pose channel. So we're going to change this to pose channel. And our sample bones aren't going to be foot anymore. They're going to be hand. Well, no, we're still going to use the feet. And we're going to add in the hands. So we're going to add a reference to hand L. And L. And L. And then the second one will be hand R. And if I go back to our loops here, we can now see we've got green dots appearing on here. So if I change this back to default, you can see that the green dots here, we're just looking at the feet, and our white dot is the heading that's disappeared completely, which was always going to be really weird because it looks like the pelvis and it's working out two different heading directions. That needed to be stable, but we've just removed it. We don't need it. Okay, so if I change this back to prone, you'll be able to see that our feet and hands now count for where the position of the animation is as well. So not just the feet. Because we don't move very much, but our hands move quite a bit. Okay. So back in PSS prone, we've got the feet position, velocity and position, and we've got, so foot L, foot R, that's fine. And we've got hand L, we want velocity and position as well. Just like that. And because our feet don't overly move, then I actually don't want the weight of the feet to matter too much. So I'm going to change that to 0.7 and I'm going to up the hand weights to 1.2. So that's what I care about most. The input query pose is continuing pose. And that will look for the next pose in what makes sense. So where the hands are, where the feet are, where the body is, and if there's nothing, it will use the next character pose. Okay. The rest of that's fine. So now, if I play the game, just make sure that this is set to prone. Yep. We can see what difference this has made. So our right is fine. Our left is fine. This is our backwards. Our back left is not fine. Still not doing anything. And our back right is doing something, but that's also not great. This is our forward, forward right, and forward left. Seems to be doing something but freaking out between forward and forward right. Okay, let's tweak those. So if I go into the backward left animation, it's a bit close, and change it so I can see the character, I know that the animation is going to move based on where the hands are, and I want all of my animations to start with the same position. You see how this one's a bit forward here, right at the start? But if I set it to start here, so if I press right click and add the notify state, I can override the continuing pose and set that to where it's normal, and it ends where it goes back to the normal, like that. So normal start, moves, goes back to the normal. And if I just put the modifier at something like minus 1.5, then, which pose was that? I forgot. So this is backwards left. So now if I play this, go into our pose here, go backwards, and so go left, and then backwards. So we can see at 1.5 it's still trying to go backwards left, but it starts going the way that we want. So if I come into the animation, we'll change this to -2 instead. Go back down into it, go left, and then go backwards. Tweak this a little bit to be here. See how that looks. So we're going backwards and then left. Really wants to get into that backwards position. Why is that? If I change the PSS weight, so the trajectory, we change the weight of the trajectory channel to override the pose channel, then what does that look like? So backwards, swap that around. Okay, so if we use the tools and the debug, then we can go into rewind debug. And if I play, we can start debug on the sandbox character, which is this one. So we'll go into our prone pose, go forward, go backwards, go left, go backwards left. We can see what it's doing. So we'll end that and go and check what's going on. And then we're in prone. So we're in prone loops, we've got prone stops. And then we transition to backward loop. And it starts to do left loop. And then it transitions to backward loop. You see it try to pull some of this backward loop in, but it doesn't really work because it goes to our left start. Change these to a prone schema as well. So we got our starts and got our idles. Idles will probably leave alone for a second. Stops. So anything that's on default will just need to change to PSS prone. And then can try and play again. So we are about forward. Back right seems to do alright. Forward right is a bit janky. Forward left's a bit janky. Forward's fine. Back's alright. Then back left could be better. Okay. So let's go back to our loops. We're going to allow the reselection of these poses and see if that changes anything at all. Get into our prone pose. So that looks better. That's still pretty awful. And that seems to do alright, but it really favors that backwards. Okay, so let's go to our loops PSD and let's find our backwards PSD. So we only really want to get it from up here, add notify state, override continue at base cost. That's when the hands are equal sides. And then to about here is where it stops. Let's see if that does anything at all. Take it off 2 player, put it on 1, save myself some bandwidth. There we go. So now we've got left backwards working. And there's our left back. And now we need to fix our right back. There's our backwards. Left backwards is working perfectly fine. And now I want to fix our right backwards. Open that up. And we're going to do the same thing again as we did with the left one. So we're going to add a notify state, override continue pose. And from there to about there, give this a -2 value. And give that a go. There we go. So backwards and our backwards left. Backwards. Backwards left. backwards right, and backwards. View. So those are the backwards ones done. Then let's go to our loops. Forward left loop. And about here, right click, override continue and pose. And this is where it goes back to where it was. Put this on -2 again. And then, so that's our forward left, on our forward right. As well, we do the same thing. So that's where his hands are in a normal position. All the way up, back to the position, just about there. -2 that. And now we test. So we're going forward right, you can see that works. Forward is fine. Forward left is moving as well. What's our left and right look like? Left and right is pretty awful. So we're going to grab the dense loops. We're going to grab our left, find that, and from this middle bit here, I'm going to override continue and pose. It moves and it lands about there. That's where it goes back to normal. And I'm going to -2 that. And that is, which way is that? Left. So we can test to see if that works. And it's not great. And neither is right. But it's better. So I'm going to come back to the animation. And I'm just going to tweak that a little bit here. To see what that looks like. And then on the left. So again, not the whole thing that we want. So maybe bring that over here a bit. There we go. That's sort of more doing a prone that we want. As I say, these animations, not the greatest, but we're fixing them up as much as we can. So we're going to go back to our prone loops, and we're going to do the same thing for our right. And so where are we? Right is probably from about here onward. Give that a value of -2 as well. And this. There you go. Now we're moving right. So what's the before and after look like? We'll chuck this back to PSS prone, to PSS default. This was your right. Little fiddly right hand. This was your left. Didn't really do very much. And that was all your other directions. And now if we chuck this back to prone, then you can see backwards is fine. Backwards left is great. Backwards, sorry, left, we've got some movement. Right, we've got a bit more movement. Forwards is fine. Forwards right is good. And forwards left is good as well. So, what have we really done? Well, we've looked at changing the velocity because we're not giving. So we've looked at adding more weight to the trajectory channel to give it more power in controlling our animations. We've added, well, we've changed the trajectory offsets on a lot of these to make them smaller because our animation doesn't move that much, so we need to make our animation move set smaller. And then instead of using the group channel, we are using the pose channel. And the pose channel is taking our foot LR, hand L, and hand R location. I've changed the weights on these so the hands are more important than the feet. And we're looking for the continuing pose, so the next matching pose that continues. In our animations, we're trying to make all of these poses start and stop around the same place, so with their hands in front of them rather than over on the side. And then we've overridden some costs and changed the weight. In terms of our silly idol that we've got, how do I fix that where he's not humping the floor like a madman? Let's change his thing to prone as well. So now when he goes down, he doesn't hump the floor anymore. There we go. And we can crawl around and do everything that we need. And that is how we create a new PSSS and change it and customize it for what we want. And yeah, if you look at all these channels, you can have a curve channel that looks at the curve speeds. So you add a curve from one of these curves or create your own, and it'll do something different. So if I type in speed, then you can look at the foot speed or the move speed or anything like that. But these weren't moving very fast, so the best thing for me to look at was the actual feet velocity and position of them to the next pose. But because they didn't move very far, that's why we changed the weight on these to be less important than the trajectory, and we upped the weight on the hands because the hands actually do the dragging forward as well. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. The reason that I changed the sample rate is, again, the samples being so close together didn't really matter, and changing it to 30 now that it's all fixed, like 30 is the default. Doesn't really make much of a difference. Like, it might get you to transition from one animation to the next a little bit quicker. But again, not a huge amount of difference. The reason we're T-posing at the start of the level is that this actually does use a level blueprint. It's a bit frustrating because I wouldn't have done this. We can go to all databases and add in our new databases here. So our new post search databases. And if you read this, it says it requires the database to be built whenever an animation is saved or database edit, and currently it happens during gameplay, and that's what causes the stutter and the T-poser. So if we add them in here, we shouldn't get that anymore. So PSD prone idols prone loops. Starts. Can compile and save that. And there we go. Straight into our prone with our prone movement. All set up on its new PSD and all working as intended. So yeah. That's it. Have a good day.